Why have you always felt different, too intense, too aware, too deep for the world you were born into? And what if that feeling isn't a flaw, but evidence of something extraordinarily rare developing inside you? This question haunted the life and work of Carl Jung, a man who spent decades listening to minds that didn't fit into society's narrow definition of normal. Jung didn't study average psychology. He studied the outliers, the ones who felt more, questioned more, and struggled not because they were weak, but because their inner world was more complex than the systems meant to contain them. Jung discovered that a small fraction of humanity, far less than 5%, develops what he called a differentiated consciousness. These individuals do not simply react to life, they perceive it at depth. They experience reality in layers, meanings, and symbols that most people never access. But here is the cruel paradox Jung observed again and again. These rare individuals often grow up believing something is wrong with them. Their sensitivity is labeled weakness. Their intensity is called instability. Their refusal to accept shallow answers is treated as rebellion or arrogance. Over time, they internalize the message that their natural way of being is defective. Jung saw this as one of the great psychological tragedies of modern civilization, because what society calls too much is often the very trait that signals advanced psychological development. These individuals aren't malfunctioning, they are ahead. Jung understood the human psyche as something alive, evolving, and directional. Consciousness, in his view, is not static. It develops, and those who develop faster, deeper, or earlier often pay a heavy social price. They feel alienated, misunderstood, and chronically out of place. Yet Jung noticed something astonishing. Many of history's innovators, philosophers, artists, and spiritual revolutionaries shared the same traits that society tries to suppress in these rare personalities. So what defines this psychological rarity? The first sign Jung consistently observed was an emotional depth that feels almost supernatural. These individuals don't merely feel emotions. Emotions move through them like complex inner landscapes. Joy is expansive. Grief is archetypal. Love is consuming. Pain carries meaning. Jung described this as affect-toned experience emotions, charged with symbolic and psychological significance. To the outside world, this can look like oversensitivity, but Jung knew better. This was not emotional chaos. It was emotional intelligence operating at a level most people never reach. Such individuals sense emotional undercurrents before words are spoken. They feel tension in rooms that others ignore. They absorb atmospheres, moods, and unspoken truths because their psyche is tuned to depth, not surface-level interaction. This isn't instability, it's attunement, and without guidance, it becomes exhausting. The second sign is what Jung called an active relationship with questioning itself. These individuals possess a sacred curiosity. They cannot accept reality as it is presented. They ask why relentlessly. Why do people live lives they hate? Why do we normalize emotional emptiness? Why do social systems reward conformity over authenticity? Jung contrasted this with what he called unconscious living, where individuals inherit beliefs, values, and identities without examination. Rare personalities cannot live this way. Their mind refuses it. This questioning is not intellectual arrogance, it is psychological necessity. Jung referred to this as the transcendent function, the ability to hold tension between what is and what could be. These individuals sense possibilities beyond current limitations, and because of that, they threaten systems built on comfort and habit. Their questions destabilize illusions others rely on to feel safe. This is why they are often told they think too much, feel too deeply, or complicate things unnecessarily. The third sign is conscious independence. Jung observed that psychologically rare individuals often develop self-reliance, not because they want to but because they must. Early disappointment, misunderstanding, or emotional neglect forces them inward. There they begin constructing an inner authority that does not depend on external validation. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming a whole, integrated self. This independence is frequently mistaken for detachment or coldness. In truth, it is psychological sovereignty. These individuals learn sometimes painfully that outsourcing their sense of worth is dangerous, so they build an internal foundation. Their solitude becomes a sanctuary rather than a punishment. It is where they reconnect with who they are beneath social roles, expectations, and masks. The fourth sign is heightened intuitive perception. Jung revolutionized psychology by treating intuition as a legitimate and vital function of the psyche. For rare personalities, intuition is not vague or mystical. It is precise. They read people effortlessly not through judgment, but through perception. Micro-expressions, contradictions in speech, shifts in energy, nothing escapes them. When someone says I'm fine but isn't, they know. When a situation is unsafe beneath a pleasant surface, they feel it. Jung described this as perception via the unconscious, a direct line to information others ignore. Without boundaries, this gift becomes a burden. These individuals unconsciously regulate rooms, conversations, and emotional climates. They carry what is not theirs. Jung warned that without protection, intuitive sensitivity leads to exhaustion. The fifth sign is a relentless craving for meaning. These individuals are psychologically incapable of living inauthentically. They may try chasing approval, status, or conventional success, but it never satisfies them. Something inside rebels. Jung observed that when people live against their psychological nature, the psyche responds with anxiety, emptiness, or depression. These are not disorders. They are signals. For rare personalities, meaning is not optional. It is oxygen. Shallow goals feel suffocating. Relationships without depth feel hollow. Their psyche demands alignment between inner truth and outer life. And when they refuse to settle, they become catalysts forcing others to confront the emptiness of lives built on performance rather than authenticity. This is where part 1 ends, not with answers, but with a realization. If these traits resonate with you, you are not broken. You are undergoing a form of psychological development that society neither recognizes nor supports. If part 1 described your inner life with unsettling accuracy, the next question becomes unavoidable. What are you supposed to do with this rarity? Because Jung warned that without understanding, these gifts can turn against you. One of the most painful patterns Jung observed was that psychologically rare individuals repeatedly outgrow people and environments. This isn't arrogance, it's evolution. As they shed conditioning roles and false identities, old relationships no longer fit. Jung called this psychological death and rebirth. Each stage of growth requires letting go of who you were in order to become who you are becoming. But others often want the old version back, the quieter, smaller, more convenient one. Jung understood that once consciousness expands, it cannot contract. You cannot unsee what you have seen. This is why growth feels lonely. Not because you are difficult, but because you are no longer unconscious. Another defining trait is what Jung described as transformational presence. Some individuals change rooms simply by entering them, not through dominance, but through authenticity. When they listen, people feel seen. When they speak, truth surfaces. Jung believed this form of presence was inherently healing. It creates psychological safety where honesty becomes possible. But here lies a danger. Those with this gift often give it indiscriminately. They become emotional containers for others while neglecting themselves. Jung warned of what we now call helper syndrome, the unconscious belief that one's value lies in being needed. Without discernment, rare personalities burn out. Then there is the most subtle sign of all, a sense of purpose that cannot yet be defined. These individuals feel pulled toward something meaningful, creative, or transformative, even if they can't articulate it. Jung saw this as the psyche's drive toward individuation and contribution. Ignoring this call leads to restlessness and despair. Honoring it requires courage. Jung outlined stages that rare personalities pass through. First, the unconscious outsider feeling different but trying desperately to fit in. Second, the awakening individual recognizing their traits as meaningful rather than defective. Third, individuated consciousness, living in alignment with one's nature while remaining connected to others. Few reach this stage, not because it's impossible, but because it demands shadow integration. The shadow is where the danger lies. Jung warned that psychologically advanced individuals carry unique shadow risks. One is superiority mistaking difference for dominance. Another is the messianic complex to belief that it's your responsibility to save or awaken others. A third is martyrdom, believing suffering is the price of depth. None of these are virtues. All are unconscious traps. True rarity includes humility. It includes knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to give and when to protect yourself. Jung emphasized psychological discrimination, the ability to discern who is capable of authentic relationship and who seeks to consume or diminish you. In relationships, rare personalities tend to attract 3 types of people: those who want to absorb their light without doing their own work, those who are threatened by their depth and try to dim it, and the rarest of all, those who can meet them as equals, without envy or dependence. Jung believed that individuals like this serve a collective function. They act as bridges between the unconscious and the conscious. They expand what it means to be human by refusing to accept shallow existence as inevitable. But with that role comes responsibility. Not superiority, responsibility. Your sensitivity is not weakness, it is intelligence. Your intensity is not excess, it is precision. Your refusal to settle is not rebellion, It is evolution. And Jung believed that as humanity matures, more people will develop these traits. What is rare now is a preview of what is possible. The final task, Jung said, is acceptance. Not forcing others to understand you, not shrinking to be tolerated, but fully inhabiting who you are so completely that your life becomes a quiet permission slip for others to do the same. You are not here to be convenient, you are here to be real. And according to Jung, that makes you not only real but necessary.